Hello, welcome back. Today we are discussing episode 51 of the Play Dicely campaign, A Mind for Murder. I write little TLDR. I write little TLDRs for each of these episodes. All I wrote for this one was, brains be doing brain things, which is maybe a little bit of a spoiler. So let's get ahead and talk about the episode. Okay, so I'm sure we all remember Hillip Rowe is dead. From what we know, Ferrick Ironbender killed him. Azaria Drakenel, who are in the city when this news breaks, goes and gathers some intel and then brings it back to the keep for the rest of us. We find out that Hillip was found dead, stabbed in his own office. Ferrick surrendered himself peacefully, is now in prison, and hasn't spoken to anybody. So the group takes the evening to process, and then we head back out to Brawl Bar in the morning. Our first stop is to go talk to the other members of the Learned Circle and see if they have any other information. We have a pretty strong suspicion that Hillip Rowe at the end of his life was not the Hillip Rowe that we knew, and we're trying to validate that suspicion. It seems like all the members of the Learned Circle have gathered together and hidden out in one of their houses. Actually, every member of the Learned Circle is there except for Talbrak, who has stepped in as the interim leader of the Arturian Knights now that Ferrick Ironbender is in prison. We talk with the Learned who are there, but we don't get a ton of information from them. A little bit of information about what they heard that night, or that Hillip hasn't seemed odd to any of them, but nothing concrete really that points us in any general direction from here. Just before we leave to go take a look at the crime scene and the body, Altea Quant 3, Nivara's mother, one of the members of the Learned Circle, comes up to us and asks us to make sure that her daughter is safe. She does not know that we have quite a history with Nivara already, but she seems concerned, and rightfully so, if the Learned Circle is being targeted, that their family members may also be targeted. So we, of course, agree to make sure that Nivara is kept safe. And we plan to move her out of the city and to our keep for safekeeping. Okay, so a number of us go to investigate the scene of the crime, the office where Hillip Rowe died. They find a magical dagger seemed to be owned by Hillip himself, though Hillip was killed with a short sword, leading us to believe that perhaps Hillip brandished this knife against Ferrick, and that's why Ferrick decided to attack him. But there doesn't really seem to be a big hint of struggle in this room. The group theorizes that perhaps Hillip wanted to die? The other major piece of evidence we find here is a journal written by Hillip. And the bits that we're looking for in this journal are specifically when he took his trip to Balesville a few weeks ago. He writes a lot about how jaded Balesville has become. They disagree with the Ascendancy, they're not getting the resources they need. He talks about how there is no reeve in the city and they're trying to find a new one. No one really wants to take the position, but leading up to Barrier Day and the vote for the new reeve, Kardrak is the one that everyone keeps talking about. Eventually, Hillip does get a meeting with Kardrak just before Barrier Day, and then there's a lack of notes for a few days. And then there's the day of Barrier Day and this vote, and Kardrak is unanimously voted in to become the Reeve of Balesville. The rest of the journal is him traveling back to Brawl Bar, and then a lot of just very meticulous notes from Learned Circle meetings. The group is still, trying to piece together exactly what all this means, when they find one final piece of evidence in this room. And it's that they move the rug near the desk, and they find, in the pool of blood, a tiny reptilian footprint, which also means nothing to any of us at the time. We just have a bunch of pieces, but we can't figure out how this all fits together. So then the group goes to go investigate Hillip's body. He's been kept in the infirmary at the temple, and we've been assured that no one has touched his body since last night. We investigate his clothes, and we find a note in his pocket. The note reads, "Things are going into motion tonight." Which seems bad. Drac, our cleric, who truly has the magic we actually need in this situation, casts Speak with Dead on Hillip's body. We ask him, is there anything that you want the Seekers to know? And Hillip's body tells us that he died in Balesville. Uh-oh. He tells us that Kardrak is not to be trusted. We know. And the Arturian Knights that he went with also shouldn't be trusted. We did not know. Uh-oh. He says the circumstances are fuzzy, he's having trouble remembering, but he remembers being brought into a room with Kardrak and then being restrained by the Arturian Knights that came with him. A brief struggle and then nothingness. So we don't know exactly what Kardrak did to him to kill him, but something happened there. He died, and something else has been in his body, I guess. In the room with him was Kardrak, the Arturian Knights, and Lady Cater Bexley. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, is a problem. I don't know if we've talked about that as a group, that Lady Cater Bexley was also there. We asked Hillip a few more questions. He tells us that he doesn't know anything about that reptilian footprint, but he also tells us that he trusts the Learned Circle completely, which is good. That gives us people we can trust, kind of. I'll explain later. Actually, I'll explain right now, because the next thing that happens after this is Elowen and Azaria go to the library to go try to figure out what this reptilian-footed creature is. And we do manage to find one small article about creatures shaped like brains with reptilian feet. There's only one sighting of this that we can find reported, and it's that a person died, and shortly after, this creature reappeared close to its head and then scurried away. And when they examined the body, there was no brain in it. So now our characters as a group, I don't think we know what these creatures are. They don't appear to be very common in this world, given the research that Azaria and Elowen did. But us as players sure do know that these are intellect devourers, which is bad. That's a problem, because we, the players, know that the way intellect devourers work is that they can eat and replace the brain of a host and then pilot that host body with all the memories and mannerisms and personality of the original host, but with the objective of the intellect devourers. That's bad. And see, it's especially bad because we were kind of thinking like doppelgangers or illusions, in which case something like having safe words would be helpful. But if it's intellect devourers, we wouldn't know, because they act exactly the same. That's why everyone was like, Hillip's acting the same, Hillip's acting the same. The bird knew. The bird knew something was wrong. That's interesting. Animals can tell. We're going to talk to Azaria about this. Anyways, with that horrific discovery, let's hop back over to the rest of the group who went to go visit Ferrick in prison. When they asked to go see him, the guard on duty is like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. And Nell says, yeah, well, that's what we're here about. And the guard goes, oh, about the 4 Arturian knights that died last night? Oh, which is so bad, because hey, remember those 4 Arturian knights that Hillip told us couldn't be trusted? Remember that fun little moment like an hour ago? Yeah, so those are the ones that are dead. And remember as well that like the little brain creatures, they leave the hosts when they die, and they can go and infect other bodies then. So there's like five brains out and about in Brolbar. Or maybe not, maybe they're in bodies now. We don't know how to tell. So it's really fun. It's really good. It's actually terrible. It's actually really bad. Anyways, defeated and scared, we head down into the prisons to go talk to Ferrick, because God, please, I hope he has something to tell us. But when we get down into the prisons, it's very quiet down here. As we're walking through, we find a dead guard in the hallway. Seems to have been suffocated, but with no physical markings on him to suggest like a strangulation. And eventually, as we keep exploring, we finally find Ferrick Ironbender in one of these prison cells, but he himself is wide-eyed and cannot speak and appears to be choking on the air. And in fact, we are alerted that this feels an awful lot like the same air energy that Nell felt on the airship when Sarze's Sai was stolen back from her. And it seems like it has the ability to suck the air from people's lungs, which is very, very cool. And your resident wizard with only verbal spells is very excited at this creature, who seems to be able to stop people from talking. Because we're going into combat next, baby! If you would like to join us live and watch this fight unfold, you can do so at twitch.tv/playdicely. We're coming back from a long hiatus. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what day or time we're playing right now. But if you follow us on our Discords, on our Twitter, our socials, you will hear about when our next episode goes live, so make sure you do those things. But that is all for this time, my friends. I hope you're staying happy, staying kind, and as always, remembering to play nicely. Goodbye!